Today, we must explore why, despite the growing number of African Catholics and the global influence of African clergy, there won't be an African Pope anytime soon. Even the most talked about contender, Cardinal Peter Turkson of Ghana, remains a long shot. First, we need to understand the church roots in Africa. Let's start with the surprising fact. Africa had once had popes. Back in the early centuries of Christianity, when North Africa was part of Roman Empire, there was a pope named Victor I, and he led the church in the 2nd century. So the idea of African pope is not new. But since then, the seat of the papal power has shifted, and African role in the church leadership has been increasingly sidelined. And I must remind you that this Victor I Pope was not actually black. So when we are talking about an African Pope, we are talking about the black African Pope. And we must know that in the northern part of Africa, there is less African, black African residents. Many Africans are hoping Cardinal Peter Turkson to be the next Pope. In 2013, something exciting happened. Pope Benedict resigned.
We're Stephanopoulos in New York, and we are coming on the air right now because Pope Benedict XVI is resigning on February 28th. That was announced by the Vatican.
And the world waited for the new Pope. And many people believed Cardinal Peter Turkson had a real chance. Turkson was well known. He worked in the Vatican and led a council for justice and peace. He spoke several languages and had a strong education, and often talked about helping the poor and protecting the planet. Some even called him the Pope from the global south, a symbol of change and hope for African Catholics. But when the white smoke rose, it wasn't him.
Then Argentine Cardinal Jorge Bergoglio appears, elected Pope, the first pontiff from the Americas, and the first from outside Europe in more than a millennium.
Now, let me give you the reasons why I say there won't be an African Pope anytime soon, and even Turkson won't be selected. First is the politics behind the smoke. Choosing a Pope is not as simple as picking the most holy or smart cardinal. It's a secretive process, but experts say there is a lot of politics involved. The cardinals who vote for the next Pope are called the College of Cardinals. Most of them are from Europe, and a big group comes from Italy. These cardinals often prefer somebody they know, someone from their region, or someone with views similar to theirs. Because of these, African cardinals, no matter how good they are, often they don't get enough support to win. The voting system is quiet and behind closed doors, so the public never really knows who come close. So that difference won't allow an African Pope to be elected. The second reason is ideological difference between Africa and the Vatican. Another big reason why African Pope is unlikely right now has to do with the beliefs and culture. Many African churches are more traditional and conservative. They follow strict views on family, marriage, and gender roles. In recent years, the Vatican has started to open up more, showing support for discussions on LGBTQ+ issues, women roles, and other social topics which actually are sensitive to most Africans. These created a gap between what Rome wants and what African bishops believe. So when it's time to choose a new pope, many cardinals might worry that an African leader could take the church in a more conservative direction, which could cause a conflict. And this is actually what happened to Turkson when he was interviewed back in 2013. Many people believe that Turkson is more conservative, so he was not selected as a pope back then, and he won't be selected now.
I think this drastic form that is taken in Ghana and probably western in Uganda is being the perception that the West was imposing this connectedly, linking it with some donations and grants and all of that. It's kind of politicized that in such a way that the reaction to it has also been equally political in character.
In December 2023, the Vatican issued a document named the Fiducia Supplicans, allowing priests to offer blessings to same-sex couples under specific conditions. This was not well to many African Catholic leaders who expressed strong opposition to this move. Leaders from countries like Nigeria, Zambia, Malawi, and even Ghana argued that allowing blessings for same-sex couples will confuse the faithful and contradict both African teachings and African cultural values, where of course homosexuality is widely rejected.
The Vatican's decision to bless irregular and homosexual couples is not appropriate, as it contradicts the cultural ethos of African communities. This makes up the statement of Symposium of Episcopal Conferences of Africa and Madagascar, or SECAM, released Thursday, January 11, 2024, signed by Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo, the president of SECAM.
They saw this Vatican decision as the pressure to adapt to Western views that will clash their local realities. Some African bishops even stated that they will not implement the policy, something which will contradict, something which will be a conflict when it comes to selecting the next pope. Many Western cardinals will not select the African pope, fearing these conservative ideas will lead the Catholic Church. The last reason is connection. I hope you know selecting a pope is not just about faith. Being a pope isn't only about being a good preacher or loving God. Sadly, it's also about having strong networks, knowing the right people, having support in the Vatican, and understanding how church politics work. African cardinals don't always have those connections. Many of them serve in Africa, far from the church's headquarters in Rome. They may be respected, but they are not always part of the inner circle where decisions are made. It's not about race, but race plays a part too. A black African pope will be a big chance, and the big chances make powerful people nervous. So talking about Cardinal Turkson, he is not new in the Vatican corridors, but does he have connections? Is he respected and trusted enough to hold these church politics at hand, to have these responsibilities that the other popes had in their shoulders? I know this might sound bad, especially coming from an African, but still the future is full of possibilities. The number of African Catholics keeps growing day after day. Young African priests are studying in the top university, and many are joining global conversations on faith, justice, and peace. The church will have to respond to this growth one day. Maybe not in the next election, maybe not in the one after that, but slowly the door is opening. For now, an African pope remains a dream, a powerful dream perhaps, one that reminds us that faith is for everyone, but leadership still needs to catch up. So I must have a disclaimer. This video is actually my belief and my views, my perspective. It's not the perspective of many Africans. Some believe that Turkson can be our next pope. I believe having an African pope is possible, but not for now. Maybe later, but now the church is not ready, considering the drifting perspective between an African church and the Rome, or we can say the Western views on inclusivity and many other things, especially the church politics. So this video is actually my views and my perspective. I might be wrong, so let's wait, because the process will begin soon. So we will be back to this video to check if I was right or I was wrong. Please don't forget to subscribe and also to leave your comment down below, and also to like this video so that to make sure it reaches more people. My name is Justin Shedi and I upload video every week. So see you on the next video.